Welcome to Reframe and Reclaim. We are Courtney Huckabee, a psychotherapist,
and Jen Harris, an interior designer
who have teamed up to reflect,
challenge,
and reframe your mindset in relationship with your personal belongings. Find the reframe.
Start your reclaims.
Welcome back to another episode of Reframe and Reclaim. I'm Jen Harris.
And I'm Courtney Huckabee.
And I think we've all been there before, but Courtney, have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to let go of an item and that little voice inside your head says, oh, you might use this one day, or oh, you can't get rid of that? You ever had that happen?
What if I might be able to fit into it in 2 years? Yes, I will say, I've gone through and starting to declutter spaces and like, you know what, I should probably, I haven't worn this in a while, or I haven't used this, or I forgot I even owned this. And I'm like, but maybe I will use this now that I remember it's here. What about you?
Yeah, clothes is one that's really easy to do this with, especially like with those aspirational closets. I do this, or I used to do this, I should say, with items in my garage. So boxes I had moved from place to place to place. I was always like, well, I might need what's in there. I don't know what's in there, so I can't get rid of it because even though I haven't opened this box in 5 years and it's moved from home to home,
I've always had it.
I can't get rid of it because there might be something valuable in there. So yes, I have used that justification a lot.
I think it's very normal for us to, again, our homes have about 300,000 items in the average American home, some a little more, some a little less. But with 300,000 items, do you really know every item in your home?
Right.
So when you start the decluttering process, you can really start to second guess yourself of, maybe I forgot it was in the garage for 5 years, but now that I see it again, it's, something I might come back to.
Right. Or the one time I finally let go of something, then I'm going to need it. So I can't let go of it. Right. But how many times, at least for me, that does not happen?
I can't think of a time off the top of my head where I let something go and I was like, oh man, I wish I had that.
So how do you help your clients, or what personal experiences do you have where if you have those thoughts going through your head where it's, I'm second guessing myself, how have you gotten yourself to come to a decision to feel confident about it?
What I do, especially when it comes to clothes, I have a rule. If I haven't worn it in 12 months, this has been a rule of mine for quite a while. If I haven't worn it in 12 months, it comes out. And so I know that mentally in my head. So when I come back to the next season, like fall to winter, or winter to spring, I'm really thinking, oh, I have to wear that, or I have to, or I'm going to have to let go of it.
Oh, I like it. You're holding yourself accountable.
And so I do hold myself accountable for that. But that's one of the instances. That's a habit I've created over the years that I'd really try to hold fast to. That's one of my personal habits. What about you? Have you come up with any strategies for yourself to like trust your gut?
Well, I do the same thing with my seasonal decor, where it's like if I haven't used it this season, then I get rid of it and I let go of it because I'm not going to keep using it. Like because I used to do that. I'm like, oh, I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. And then 4 years later, the item has either lost its,
elasticity,
right?
Or colors,
right?
changed.
The color's faded, or it's been sitting out in the garage and has crumbled apart. So I really try to be really realistic with myself of what I'm going to use, what I'm not, and let go of what I'm not so someone else can use it and enjoy it. Yeah, with clothes, the elasticity, again, want other people to use it before it goes bad. I struggle with sometimes utilitarian things where it's like pens, right? I have a ton, or markers. Like I have a ton of these, but I like this color. I could use it if this other color goes out. But by the time I get to it, again, the ink's dried out, haven't used it. So it's really been a process of failures. So going through and telling myself I'm going to do this, realizing I'm not going to do this, and being more confident. But again, I've had to go through that process of just failing repeatedly, and now I'm okay with getting
well. And I want to reframe that for you, Jen.
Okay, thank you.
Failing is experience, and I think these are lessons learned.
There you go.
So for the 4 years you didn't use that Christmas decor, you realize after 4 years it's lost its color, it's starting to disintegrate, and now I no longer keep items for 4 years if I'm not using them.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call it failure. I would call it lessons learned.
Learned experiences, learned life experiences.
And I think whenever it comes to this situation, it really does come with experience. And so when you're first starting to declutter or like looking at a space in your home, whether it's the pantry or it's the linen closet or if it's your dresser drawer or the garage, a lot of times you're like, I don't know because I haven't done this yet. What I will say as well, with my clients who, I do talk about clutter and stress with my clients because, I mean, we all have spaces to live in and sometimes our spaces feel overwhelming. So it does come up in counseling with some of my clients. But sometimes I will say, like, put it away in another space. So kind of create this space how you want it to look and feel, put it away somewhere else. Maybe it's the garage or it's a closet somewhere else. And then give yourself time whenever you get to that space. Have you really missed it? Have you needed it? And have you used it or enjoyed it? Whatever that is.
Yes. And that was the really big deciding factor for me going back to those items in the garage. If I didn't know what it was, I could justify keeping it because I don't know, so I don't want to risk it.
Right.
But just by putting my hands on it, even if I didn't touch it again for another year, even if I just said, oh, this is what is in this box and still put it away, then I have a mental note that's there. So when I come back to it next time,
or label that box what's
and like
in it.
Yes, well, usually it's labeled. Great. But it's
some organization.
But when you're moving, you usually throw a bunch of random things in at the end. So those are the ones that
baby shoes and dishes and laundry detergent. I've moved a few times.
So it's those where it's like, but what's in it? But if I can open it, look at it, and even if it's a year before I come back to it again, I can open it again. I'm like, I automatically remember, and I say, oh, this was that box that I still haven't looked at. So I know I can get rid of it because it's been a year and I haven't touched it.
And I will say, a lot of times we do store more sentimental things or like things that are like from our childhood or maybe things that were passed down from our family members. And we don't usually display all of those things all the time, but we want to hold on to them. If you're starting the decluttering process, don't start with those items. I would say start with something that's less emotionally invested. Start with the expired medication. Maybe start with that. Now we know not to flush those and throw those in the trash, and there's a proper way to dispose of them, but you can still take inventory of what you have that is still working and therapeutically appropriate for your headache or your tummy aches or whatever, and then take out so that it's not taking up space the things that are expired and no longer usable. I think that's a great place to start.
Yes, or extra power cords. It feels like everything comes with a new power cord with everything you buy, right?
Use it.
Right. What if some goes bad? But do I really need 5 backups? Right?
Or the sock drawer. I don't know how full my sock drawer is. And honestly, this is something for my homework. I wear socks maybe 4 times a month. I'm very much a slip-on shoe. I'm a sandal. I'm a work shoe person. I need to work out more and do more exercise, but I don't need 30,000 pairs of socks that I do have.
But let me ask you this. Out of those 4 days a month that you wear socks, do you normally wear the same 1 or 2 pairs, or are you sorting through and wearing different?
I like the same style. I like a good ankle sock, but I like the gray. I like the black. I like the white. So maybe I just need a good 10 pair of ankle socks. And some have lost elasticity.
Yep.
Some have strings that are like pulling out of them and they're not like as, functional. There's a hole here or there. So this is really good reflection for me right now as we're talking about this topic.
Mismatched socks are another really easy win.
Yes, I can't find this. My son, I don't know how the dryer eats it or he loses it at school or he decides to bury it in the backyard. We have so many like left socks and not the right sock.
He's just the right ones. He gets tired of them.
They go maybe my dog eats them. I don't know.
His right foot slightly larger than his left. And he's like, these socks don't fit.
He's more gentle with his right foot. But I do think that those things that are less emotional,
Yes.
it might be, maybe it's the medication again, maybe it's the towels, and
Mhm.
I know that towels get used daily, whether it's the kitchen towels. We kind of reuse, reduce, and recycle ours, and the towels that get kind of dingy and
Yep.
torn, we like move them to like my husband's shop towels so
Yep.
he can use them there. And then once they get like greasy and gross and like start to disintegrate, then we finally throw them away.
Yes.
But I don't want to be drying off with a towel that's holey
No.
and rough and no longer comfortable.
Yes, it's good to have standards, especially with towels and sheets in your home. I
I have
agree.
towel standards.
High towel standards. Something else, again, I agree that don't start with heavily sentimental items because you're just going to doubt yourself and then everything is going to feel really overwhelming and daunting. But one thing that really helped me, Courtney did this when we first started writing the book, is I had like old toys that I had moved from place to place. I wasn't doing anything with them. I had a whole bin of like stuffed animals, and my boys were not interested. I was like, if I have kids, they'll play with them. Nope. And so what helped me was taking photos of everything, and then I could let go of it. And for some reason, that calmed my anxiety because it's like, oh, if I ever do want to go back to this, I have a photo where it will trigger the
I can
memory,
remember it.
and I can have it, right? And a lot of that comes from when my dad passed away. I felt like I started forgetting him very quickly, and so then I held on to this story of like, I'm going to forget things, so I have to hold on to it, or else it's just going to disappear. But by taking the pictures, then I have a way to go back and see those items. And have I ever gone back to look at them? No, I haven't. But
You can if you
but I
want
can if I
to.
want to. And that is one good thing about technology is it doesn't take up a lot of space to take the
Yes.
photos now. So
And I
yeah.
think that's another lesson learned.
Yes.
Like your younger self said, if I don't have this, I will forget it. And now you've learned I don't have to have it and I can
Mhm.
remember it, or there's a different way to hold on to it that isn't taking up physical space.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think the same thing happens with decluttering. Once you start the process with those less emotional items, you
Mhm.
start to really trust the process a little bit more and trust yourself a little bit more, so you can start to step into those more sentimental items along the way. Now, we are not saying get rid of all of your sentimental items. That is
Yes.
not the case at all. However, if you do have these items and they're stored in a cardboard box that's 10 years old, is it really preserving and protecting those things that are really important to you?
Yes.
And so it might be that I'm starting to take them into my home or display them or have them stored a little bit more appropriately to protect them. But also, in those sentimental items, there may be like of the 50 you have in that box, maybe there's 25 that you really
Mhm.
are connected to today. And then the other 25 can be 25 less items you're holding on to and
Yeah.
less items that are taking up space.
And let's say you get it down to those 25 items. Maybe you display 10 of them and then you rotate that display. We talked a couple weeks ago about freshening up your bookcases without having to go out and buy new items. You can use your sentimental items being stored away and bring them out, tell a story, display them, and then get to enjoy them.
Yeah. And I think we had a client who had the sentimental curio cabinet.
Hmm.
And this curio cabinet had a lot of memorabilia from family inheritances, memorabilia from gifts from people, memorabilia from travel.
Hmm.
And so it was really beautiful to have all those things, but it was so disorganized and it had not really a storyline.
And so full too that you
Really,
couldn't.
everything kind of got lost. So you
Yeah.
just saw a whole lot of stuff. But we went in, we spent a few hours with this client and we created like a storyline. This is chapter one and this shelf, or this is chapter three of different things. And she was able to write a note that connected with those items so that when people came, they could see it. She could read the note, they could read the note, and her children will also be able to understand the value or the history of those items too.
Yes.
So it takes time, but it actually is a beautiful display
Yeah.
in her home that you actually see the things, how they're organized, and they're not collecting dust in the garage, but they're a place to actually have a story and tell about her life experiences.
And she even said, like, when we checked in a few months later, like she could see the items now, where before she would walk by and just all kind of a blur. Now she walks by and her eye stops and will catch an item and she'll remember. So
and
that's
some
really
of
cool too.
and then some of the items she took out, she's like, you know what, it was like a thing that was sentimental, but I can actually use this now. So
Yeah.
like there were some glasses, she's like, I don't want to just like keep it stored away. I can actually bring it out and use it for certain events or parties, or just, you know, how she wanted to change how those items were viewed, seen, and used.
Well, and then she kind of took out that expectation and that fear of like, oh, this might break, so I'm never going to use it, and I'm going to store it away in the curio cabinet, to actually using it for her everyday dishware, and she gets to enjoy it every day now. So, which is really bringing more life to that item, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was a really cool transformation to see. So, one of the key things that I found to really start understanding, trusting my gut, and being confident in my decision making was really being honest with myself. So if I was looking at an item and I was unsure, then being honest, like, why am I unsure about this?
Mm-hmm.
And is this a reason to hold on to it or not? And then, like you said, store it away for a little while, but give myself an honest timeline of when I'll come back to it. So, like seasonal items, I know it's going to be 12 months before I come back.
Sure.
But other boxes, I can put 3 months, I can put 6 months to come back and make a decision more confidently. But really be honest. And there's no right or wrong answers. We're not here to judge you if you say you have to keep, 90 of the 100 items, or there's no limit.
It's
right?
your process.
Exactly. So just be honest with, will you use this? Will someone else get more use out of it instead of you if you let go of it? Can you have the memory without the item? Can you take a picture of it? And is that enough to keep the memory instead of keeping the physical space that the item takes up? So there's all different strategies. We talk a lot about it in the book, but a big key is to just be honest with yourself, because that's how you're going to trust your gut and trust your decision making going forward.
Yeah, and I will say that example of like going through things in a time that you feel comfortable with it. My mother-in-law, she had a 3-bedroom house in another city. We moved her closer to us after she had some health challenges, and now she's in a 1-bedroom apartment. She's closer to us, so we get to spend a lot more time with her. However, she took all of her things and put them in a storage unit. But she has started in the last few years to be like, I don't need this. It took her time to come around to living in a new space, seeing what her life chapter was now. And she would be like, I don't need this. Can you find someone else who might need this? Or this was, passed down in my family. I want you to have it in your family. And so we have it in our home now, and we use it or we display it at certain events. And so I think it just is your own process, your own timeline, and what feels comfortable for you. So this is not become minimalist or don't care about items, don't have emotional connections or attachments. You're a human. We want you to have your space that you feel comfortable and connected to. We really want you to make sure that if your space is overwhelming you, if your space is not fitting your current life chapter, how to start in simple ways. So starting with a sock drawer, starting with the towels in the linen closet, starting with the medications in the pantry, starting with mail in your mail room, starting with things that are less emotionally connected. And once you get that habit and start making those decisions, you start to trust yourself more. And then you can move into other items that you're more emotionally connected with, whether it's your childhood toys, or if it's your child's clothes when they were, a baby, or if it was, these games I used to play whenever I was in middle school, or pictures that I have, or notes. I have a whole box of notes that I passed back and forth from my friends whenever we didn't have cell phones and text each other.
Were they all folded like origami?
All folded.
Oh,
they're
love
different. Now, I don't have all of them, but I have probably a handful of them. And every few years, I may go through and open them up, and some of them, get tattered and torn because I have them stored in my garage. But then it kind of reminds me of the fun friendships I had, or the things that were happening back in high school and middle school. But I also go through and say, well, I don't need that now. I may take out a couple more each time I go back and revisit.
Well, and if you're looking at sentimental items like that, you can also give yourself a physical boundary. So it's like, this is how much space I have to store it. So I'll get one storage bin or box or basket. and I just have to pick the most important things that will fit in here and really, again, be honest with yourself. What means the most to you and fits in the space that you feel comfortable allocating it to?
And the reason you'll give yourself a physical boundary or a timeline boundary is to make sure your space feels good for you. It's not overwhelming you. It's not feeling stressful. It's not feeling cluttered. It's not feeling like it's not a space you want to be in. Instead, we want this to be a space that feels good for you, fits you, and can feel like a space you want to be in and bring people into.
So if you're ready to start the process, listen to our podcast, get motivation, put it on while you're decluttering. Check out our book for step by step. I mean, we have chapters about sentimentality. We have chapters about, I might use this one day.
It brings me joy.
Yes, with self-reflective questions you can ask yourself as you're going through and evaluating each item. Highly recommend that. We have the book for sale anywhere online. Retailers sell books. We also have an audiobook if you prefer that version as well.
And ebook too.
And ebook, yes. So until next time, start decluttering, trust yourself, and we'll talk to you next week.